Hello class. When I was deciding what I was going to do for an 8-minute speech, I decided that I could go on and on about my experiences as a waitress. I had surveyed the class before, prior to this, asking if anybody had worked in a food service job, and it turned out that Morgan and Leanna both had worked in food service jobs prior. Morgan and Leanna, if at any point during my speech you feel personally victimized, the same as I, or you relate to any of the topics at hand, please raise your hand. In my experience with both fast food and fine dining employment for 3 years, I noticed the largest distinctions between the respect or disrespect received by customers and formality expected on the job. First, let's start by defining fast food and fine dining. Fast food is a type of mass-produced food designed around speed of delivery. I worked at Dos Coyotes Border Cafe, which is a Mexican fast food restaurant, which it wasn't even necessarily fast food, but people treated it that way. Workers in fast food jobs are expected to fill in roles as they appear. It's not any specific things. You could greet customers, take orders, bring out their food, and bus their table at any time. Whereas in fine dining, it's a high-quality food in a formal atmosphere. In such restaurants, we have specific worker positions and job descriptions, and it generally includes host, busser, waiter, and occasionally bartender, but my restaurant was insane. We had a uniform inspector and a table liaison to inspect our setting of the tables. However, both fast and fine dining jobs are relevant to us college students because nearly 70% of employees are 20 years or younger, reports Robert Van Giensen in the Monthly Labor Review. This is due to the fact that they don't require as much job experience and are easier to obtain. Alright, now that we understand a little bit about the difference between fast food and fine dining, we can consider one commonality. Disrespect to workers. The only difference is the amount. Winifred R. Poster explains the relationship between worker and customers in identity at work. Service work relies on workers to convey qualities to customers of pleasantness, politeness, happiness, calmness. Workers must in turn delve into their inner selves to display these emotions, which means that they engage in deep acting. One of the most important soft skills learned in food service is acting. You have to be as nice as you can to people that are blatantly disrespecting you. For example, at Dos Coyotes, there have been multiple 6-hour shifts where I would ask every single person how their day was, yet not one person had asked me back. And some people would just ask me, wouldn't answer the question, but just say their order back. It's also sadly common for older men to refer to younger females as hun or sweetie. And even my nickname, which I was referred to for 3 years at the place, was a little disrespectful as Guerra is a blonde, light-skinned girl. One of the worst disrespects I've endured in my entirety of food service, though, is the gluten-freeze. I'm not talking about everyone with allergies, though. I'm talking about the family of 20 people that comes in 10 minutes to closing, usually 2 or 3 minutes before closing, every single Tuesday night I've worked there. Sorry. And one time we hadn't made an item correctly, but our kitchen was closed 45 minutes after, and they ultimately had sued us because we didn't make the item again. They also had never tipped us once, and they've come in every Tuesday. However, that's not uncommon for fast food. Tips at Dos Coyotes would be $1 to $2, and at the fine dining restaurant, it'd be $150 to $200 a night. Although there's less disrespect at the fine restaurant, you would expect more people to behave themselves. Oh, sorry, I skipped that. But it's the no one asked your day, it's degrading, and $2 tips. But at the fine dining restaurant, our busser motto, which I was a busser, was bussers are to be seen and not heard. And communication between the customer and the busser is limited. However, it wasn't as degrading as fast food. For example, if anyone had ever asked where I was going to college, and I had said Cal Poly, people at fast food would assume Panoma, and people at the fine dining restaurant would assume Cal Poly slow. There are often occurrences of public drunkenness due to the fact that we have 2 bars, a wine room, and endless, bottomless mimosas that suburban moms go wild for. I've had 2 tables get in a fight over a crying baby during dinner, and I've actually had a mom throw a glass of red wine at me, including the glass, because I offered to move their table. In our cigar lounge nightly, drunk men would fill my working area with smoke and boast loudly of their profound successes and accomplishments. While you may think, hey, that's pretty illegal to smoke in a restaurant, Ronald Shoplin discusses disparities in smoke-free workplace policies among food service workers that just 43% of restaurants are covered by these smoking-free policies. In addition, I was also the first female bussers in their entire 30 years of opening. I would hear plenty of degrading comments like, that looks a little heavy, young lady, or since when did that become a girl's job? The sad part about it all is that if you want to keep your job at both places, you have to keep the customer happy, and ultimately you have to do whatever they throw at you. From the extended discussion of disrespect, I would consider it to be the largest trade-off of working food service. Another difference between fast food and fine dining is the formality expected at both places. At my fast food job, the environment was really laid back and relaxed, and our uniform consisted of t-shirts and jeans. Didn't matter if you broke a glass, really. And I was always given appropriate length breaks. I would roast all of my bosses. We had food wars in the back. I could make any food I wanted, take any food home. And I would take Rice Krispie treats. I would deep fry anything in our chip fryer. Hot Pockets, pizza rolls, mozzarella sticks, pot stickers, anything. However, grease burns were a daily occurrence at my work, and they were serious. Regarding a lawsuit in a McDonald's worker safety, Alex Berzone stated one worker in New Orleans said she got burned every shift, which is something that happens at my work every day. And however, you have to be 18 to work the chip fryer. However, if all the 18-year-olds are busy during the shift, you have to do it. So I've been doing it informally since 15 and a half, since I started working there. Our schedules are often varied from week to week, so we would work different days and different hours. So, and William Beaver in Fast Food Unionization states that busy periods would call people in and ask people to work longer, but on slow days they'd be sent home early. And at Dos Coyotes, if it wasn't busy, you could work for 2 hours and be sent home. So it's not a very good system. All of this is basically the complete opposite at a fine dining restaurant. I would never roast my bosses in front of them. And I could never take food home from there. It's a very expensive restaurant, and a burger is $35. It's insane. And I've spent well over $300 on my uniforms just to get it right before I passed the inspection. My first pair of slacks were too short. They didn't touch my ankles. Second pair was off black. And then the third pair, he literally said, oh, they just look too much like yoga pants. And all these times I had to wear the stuff into work and clip the tags, and he had said, no, go back, try again. In addition, if you break a glass there, it was a sin. You literally would have to do a walk of shame to the broom, and it's so condemned because a wine glass is $100 there. And one night, I'd only broken 4 glasses my whole time, but one night it was all 4 glasses off my tray. And so it was a bad day. Furthermore, we are expected to carry heavy trays for extended periods of time. And one shift, one of my tables was sat the whole time, and I had a bruise from the very end of my shoulder to the top of my neck and upwards. And not to mention, when you pick up your tray, you're supposed to go to the side, and that's the worst deadlift of your life. And I broke my back 2 years ago with a compression fracture, so it is very difficult for me to do that. but it's expected of us, yeah. The formality expected from fine dining is a lot more pressure than the relaxed atmosphere of a fast food place. And the most distinctive similarity across all food service jobs is disrespect to some degree. And additionally, expectation of formality differs in that fast food is informal and fine dining is formal. But the most important fact is that you make that big. Thanks.